Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to this this lovely chat with my pointless friend Richard.
How nice is this?
I know.
This is like the most fun I've had since lockdown.
I know. It's
How
just
delightful. I haven't seen you for 6 months.
a long, long time. I
Really
feel like
long time.
I've been with you quite a lot because I've been reading this blooming book of yours.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've been reading it. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, we're going to come on to that. But I've just got to try and pace my enthusiasm.
Don't go crazy.
But before we go any further, I just want to thank Waterstones and Penguin for hosting and producing this lovely event.
Yeah.
And also to tell you that at the end, at about roughly 20 to 8, we're going to be taking your questions. So start thinking what your questions are.
Well, the answer to the first question you're going to ask is 6'7". 6'7" is the answer to that question, just so you know.
Yeah, and actually the second question you know the answer to as well. It's not switched on.
It's
never worked.
Fake. It's fake. It's not a real laptop.
It's not a real laptop at all.
So any other questions?
Here we are. Let's not waste another second because we are on the cusp of something truly exciting. Tomorrow morning, Thursday, your first book, The Thursday Murder Club, is launched. It's suddenly available and
out in the world.
I'm worried that this is probably the last time I will actually get to sit this close to you.
Oh, I would love that.
You are just going to go. I've read it. I've read it twice, in fact.
You like it?
I loved it. I mean, I really can't put into words how much I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, I think it's my new favourite book.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
I like that.
you know,
thank you.
And I am discerning. I don't chuck these things out like they're sweets.
Yeah.
You know, till now, I think Michael Frayn's Towards the End of the Morning was a real favourite of mine. I think this is as good, if not even in fact better than that. Michael, I still love you, of course, but
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's very,
I think
kind.
this. Anyway, we'll as I say, we'll come to that.
Okay.
Why a novel, Richard?
It's a very good question. I've always been a writer, as you know. You've known me for years and years and years. We were at uni together and all this, and I've always written comedy and stuff like that. But then I've been busy for a lot of my career. First making lots of telly, and then secondly, I don't know if you know, I present television programs now as well.
I'll take that as well.
And sometimes if we're presenting the television show we make together, which is called Pointless, sometimes you have to remind him, and they're pointless celebrities. There's not a huge amount of time. You know, we get very, very busy, is the truth. But in our downtime, actually, we've got a bit of time on our hands. So I thought a couple of years ago, you know what, why not just give it a crack? 'Cause I've always wanted to write a novel, essentially. Never had the time. And I felt like I had like a month where I could maybe sort of knock out 1,000 words a day and just see where that got me. And it did, and I got to about 20,000 words.
Short month.
Yeah, I know. I took a couple of days off.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, I had to film 800 episodes of Pointless at the same time. And so I got to 20,000. I just thought I sort of would be too painful to give this up now, because I love my characters. I like the setting. Yeah. And I think I told you roughly around that time. I didn't tell anyone. I did it completely in secret. But I did say to you, just so you know, I've got this thing. I'm not going to tell anyone about it because no one wants to hear about a TV presenter writing a book. But I did say I've got this thing. You're one of the first people I told. But that was a long time ago.
Time ago. In fact, you told me you had this idea for a brilliant story about 6 years ago. Oh, and apparently, do you remember around about $1 billion? Or something like that.
Yeah. And bits of it remain in this as well, which is fun.
But it's knowing you as I think I do.
Yes,
I think it's fair enough to say I probably do. And I know the delight you take in craft and in lateral connections. So when I heard this was a murder mystery, I just even before I think you perhaps started writing it, I was just so excited.
You're pre-ordering already.
Yeah, mentally pre-ordering.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm always doing.
Yeah,
I had far off look in my eye.
Yeah, all I'm doing is pre-order. I've seen that far off look in your eye a few times over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Usually when a contestant said they work in the civil service, you're like, what? What am I?
Lord. What are your hobbies?
What are your hobbies? Oh my God, you got an allotment, thank God. Oh, yeah. What are you growing?
So yes, crime novel. Then. Yes. What was it particularly about that as the genre?
Well, I've always read crime, and like with television, I tend to try and make programs that I would watch. Right, so Pointless, believe it or not, I would actually watch. So I've always done that, and then you're not being cynical. You're not having to second guess an audience. You're just thinking, if I make something that I'll love them. Hopefully people will love it. And I'm the same with crime fiction. So I read an awful lot of crime fiction. I love it. I just love, I love sort of knowing that there's going to be a solution at the end of this thing, and maybe I'll go and work it out, but I probably won't. But you're in the hands of such masters, so many great British crime writers, Mark Billingham and Ian Rankin, Val McDermott, Kate Atkinson, and you just know they're going to just tell you an amazing story on the way and introduce you to great characters. So that's what I wanted to do, essentially. And as soon as I had the setting for the Thursday Murder Club, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and as soon as I knew my ending, and then I had my characters, I've got 4 main characters, and it was just an absolute joy to write them, because I know where I'm going, if you know what I mean. I know what the end is, and so I can have so much fun on the way and dropping little clues and little red herrings and little hints and making the character. I mean, they're just joyous to write, the 4 of them.
They are,
and it's so it kind of it suits my personality. Like Pointless, I know we're going to give away a trophy at the end, always, right?
Always will.
And at this, you're going to find out who did it at the end, and that's such a lovely kind of destination.
There's something also very interesting, that probably the most genteel genre of literature really is actually the murder mystery. I mean, you know, someone gets knocked off at the beginning, and it's almost like, you know, when you get an injection, they say, that's right, that's it, that's the sore bit,
that's the sore bit,
that's the sore bit.
Now you're going to get all better.
It's all jam and scones. It's all
exactly. And it's interesting, because I'm mine, because the setting, which is this retirement village and 4 sleuths in their mid-70s, sounds like it might be quite cozy, right? Because I get what it sounds like, but then I thought, I'm just going to throw everything at these 4. You know, because they can take it. I'm just going to throw the real world at them, which is what I love to write about. And that's the absolute beauty of it, is you can, if you've got these lovely characters, you can just make bad things happen, but you sort of know they're going to prevail. No spoilers.
Yeah,
no spoilers,
we've got to be careful. I've got to be careful not to give anything away. But
that said, why did?
There's something about the setting. I'm not giving too much away if I say it.
You can
set in a retirement
community, village,
I mean, it's got a lovely literary. It's got a lot of literary references in there. There's Wordsworth, Tennyson, Ruskin.
All the buildings at this place are called named after poets, but I can't remember why. I just called one of them Wordsworth Court.
I know you. I was thinking all the way through. There's probably something in this. I'm going to look up and see Ruskin. Interesting. And then Joyce.
And then
who's our first person?
Lovely Joyce.
You know. And I was, well, is there a Joyce thing there? No.
Oh, I see what you mean, like James Joyce. You've known me long enough to know I wouldn't do anything literary.
No, but I thought that was a gag. I thought that was one of your gags. So you got these references in there, and then Joyce. I'm always, I'm looking for little.
No one has come up with that before. How lovely. Texture. Oh, well, you came to the wrong place, buddy.
Hey, I didn't. I'll find my texture where I'll take it.
Okay.
And I did. I found it there.
Beautiful.
But there is something particularly lovely about the way you conjure. I mean, one of the real mysteries of Cooper's Chase, the name of the place, actually is how someone as totally loathsome as the brilliantly described Ian Bentham could have devised something as perfect as Cooper's Chase. Actually, I'm guessing he just had his eye on the long balls.
He develops the whole thing. He starts off essentially making old people's homes, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger until suddenly he buys this massive plot of land, buys it from the Catholic Church, and turns it into a huge community, essentially to make his millions and millions and millions. And he is. I mean, I think he's kind of appalling, right? But in a way, he's just a joy to write. So he's like the worst man in the world.
He's the worst man in the world. I mean, again, yes, there are so many lovely avenues for presenting themselves. Or is he? Yeah.
Maybe he isn't. Maybe he just seems like he's the worst man in the world. Or maybe he is.
Or
maybe he isn't.
Maybe he isn't. Maybe.
Yeah. Or is he?
Yeah. I don't know.
You have to read and find out.
Yeah, you have to. They always used to say that Naples, see Naples and die. Naples was always held by the ancients to be this place that had one foot in the afterlife, and one foot in this world, because it was where, because of volcanic activity. So they felt it was a kind of mystical place that was sort of a halfway house between this world and the next. And actually, Cooper's Chase is
that's interesting.
a sort of place a little bit like that, where the membrane is very thin, I think.
Well, it's a place I went to. It's a place I went to for real. A friend of mine, the mother of a friend of mine, lives in one of these retirement communities, and I went along to it. And it was really just beautiful for a start, like rolling the hillside and the swimming pool, the restaurant. It's got all the mod cons. And when I was there, the one thing I literally thought, what a lovely place, because it was full of people just having a laugh with each other. Everyone's over 70. They're all drinking at lunch. They're all, you look up, you know, they've got like Wednesday French club, and they've got kind of Tuesday natter. And when I was there, I just thought, well, firstly, I thought, oh my God, this would be an amazing place for a murder, because it just has that setting, you know, it has that kind of English countryside, and you just think, oh, and there's not much mobile signal. So you think, okay, someone's getting murdered. And then when I went into the, we went and had dinner. And by the way, as you all know, if you ever want to feel like Brad Pitt, be the presenter of Pointless in a room full of 70-year-old women, right? It's like kind of, oh, it's lovely. So I went in there and I got talking to people who'd done extraordinary things in their lives. And I thought, what if there was a murder? You guys would solve it. That is for sure. And probably one of you would have committed it as well. And I just loved the sense of mischief that they had. I love the sense of momentum their lives had. I love the friendships you could see forming between people from completely different, you know, different worlds. And that's what's at the heart of this book. You've got 4 main characters. So there's Elizabeth, who has a very nefarious background. I'm not ever quite sure what she does. She gives it away eventually.
Eastern Bloc.
She plays
former Eastern Bloc.
She plays very fast and loose with the official Secret Santa. Let's put it that way. There's her. There's Joyce, who was a nurse. There's Ron, who was a trades union official, like 1980s trades union official to the left of Scargill, and Ibrahim is a psychiatrist. And there's just a series of unlikely friendships, which are rather lovely, where everyone gets something from everyone else. And I love the idea that, you know, you're in your 70s, but suddenly there's a new adventure. Suddenly there are new friends, and you know there's new, you know, schemes to kind of think up.
It's a funny thing, yes, because actually, in the old-fashioned sense of community, a community really was something that was self-sufficient, where everything was supplied within. And you know, in communities, you come across actually quite rarely these days, because, and one of the few places actually, the film unit. I always loved being on a film unit. A film unit for a couple of months or whatever. You know that if you had anything, you had to ask someone. There's someone there who knows exactly.
Somebody knows exactly what, and that's what I felt about this place. You know, I was at, and I felt this is how we should be living post 70 is the truth. Just with loads of, it felt like a university halls of residence, but when nobody's got any homework. You know, so they got like loads of time on their hands. They got you know, they got all of their mates there. They got phone. They can ring whoever they want. They can drink with whoever they want. There's always gossip. There's politics and stuff like that. And so these 4 meet up once a week in a thing called the Thursday Murder Club, and it's about unsolved cases. Essentially, they look over old police files and this, that, or the other, and they kind of try and solve things until there's a real murder.
Given a
and we can't say exactly. And then it's the stories about how they managed to put themselves right at the heart of the investigation, which should be impossible. Elizabeth, right from the start, says, we, by the way, are going to be investigating this. And the others will say, but we can't, you know, we can't talk to any witnesses. We can't access the police. And they, bit by bit, they managed to get all of those things mainly by dint of sort of being kind of overlooked and
they kind of weaponize the ordinary. There's a lovely scene where they use tea and cake as a kind of torture torture implement device. You know, and they've got the
not literally,
metaphorically.
Metaphorically. They're not force feeding someone to you.
No.
Imagine it's not that sort of a book.
Board me.
Cakeboarding. I mean, that cakeboarding, of course, was wonderful for 3 minutes, and then it's like, what is this?
Too much.
That's too much Battenberg.
Exactly.
Never thought I'd say that.
Yellow or pink? Battenberg.
Pink, of course.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think yes.
Of course. I'm not literally. Oh yes, that's right. Yes, they weaponize the ordinary.
Yes, what a lovely thing to. It's really good. When you said it, I thought, I wonder if he's prepared that, because that's lovely.
Wow.
It's exactly what they do.
But there's a lovely sense that it's just as you get to know Elizabeth, and you get to know her quite well. You begin to respect her. Sort of, there's something very resonant about her authority, and you know that you're in very safe hands.
Yes.
And there are a couple of early capers.
Yes.
Where you suddenly spot, because you know, the lovely thing is we're shown all these people, they're just residents in this community to start with, and it's only as you know they begin to reveal their
layer by layer
their expertise actually. And it's just delightful to know you're in the hands of such specialities. But the funny thing is, I've read the book twice, as I mentioned, it's funny how the sort of the gossamer thin but very important plot lines. Sorry, when I say gossamer thin,
no, I know what you mean.
Terrible, but you know, these are things that when you read them, you think, oh, of course, why didn't I see that? And you know, a week after I finished reading it, some of the plot things I'll have to read them again. So I was surprising myself by how quickly I'd forgotten some of the connections when I read it again. But what absolutely lasted as just enduringly were these extraordinary characters.
Yeah.
And they are, a couple of people have mentioned sort of it's from the world of Agatha Christie, a little bit of P.D. James there, possibly, I don't know. But someone brilliantly said Tom Sharp, which it is. It's got a bit of Tom Sharp in
that's lovely.
But it's sort of also from the Alan Bennett, Victoria Wood school of English.
That would be if Alan Bennett wrote a Agatha Christie, you think, well, that would do me.
I mean, it is such beautifully observed character portrayal, and it is, there are so many bits. Joyce, she's the person we get our first.
She writes a little diary throughout the bits. Yeah.
There's one other little tiny section of first person. Someone I'm not going to say who. But Joyce, she's got this lovely line in just wonderfully random specificity. She's big on the brands of things.
Yeah. If she's baking a cake, if it's Harry Bikers or Nigella. That's
absolutely. She'll tell you that exactly. And she'll be very pleased if she's got something from the Taste the Difference range,
she'll know exactly. So you get your treats from Waitrose and your basics from Lidl.
And then someone who dies in the light bar aisle of Robert Dias. It's just they're just lovely. And actually, there's a beautiful. I mean, God, it almost made me cry. I thought it was such a lovely bit of character. She's describing this event, and when you read it, because she's saying so and so, he's sat there like so and so or Midas, la la la. And as I read it, I was thinking Midas, and then a few lines later in brackets says, I don't mean Midas, I mean Canute.
Yeah.
And you think, I've had conversations with people who've said precisely that.
But that's why she's a joy to write, because she can literally say whatever she wants at all times. So if ever I was stuck at all, I think, no, I've gone, let's get Joyce to write as a thing, because I love the way her brain works. She goes from being funny to being sort of sad to then like working out a clue to then sort of dropping a hint about something. And her brain works a bit like mine, which is like all over the place all the time. But she always brings it back to where she needs to go. But she's I absolutely love her.
I love her. And she's very unsentimental, which I adore, which means that when she does, there's a moment when she talks about her gang who go to see Jersey Boys, the Jersey Boys crew, who are no longer around. And there's I was absolutely wiping tears off my chin at the end of that.
Sorry.
It was so. It's just so, and it completely broadsides you. But it's, there's something about that unsentimental approach, because these are all people who've known death.
Well, that's honestly what I feel. And people talk about writing about people in their 70s, and there's two main things really. Firstly, your brain doesn't change. 35-year-old you and 50-year-old you and 75-year-old, it's the same brain.
Yeah.
But you've got different life experience. So, you are around death a lot. You're around grief an awful lot. You're around physical frailty an awful lot. And so my experience of most people at that age is they are much less sentimental, because they deal with the reality of life as it is, and they deal with the years they've got left as they are. And that was an absolute joy to write, because it's being unsentimental whilst talking about something that is sentimental is sort of quite, is a lovely thing to do. And the other fact that they're in the 70s, and this is something that sort of is really key to the book, is, you do slightly get overlooked at a certain age. And, you're sort of, people don't really give you the sort of respect you deserve. And so they sort of get away with pretty much anything they want at all times. And there's not much consequence. So when they do get involved in the police investigation, which they do manage to do by hook or by crook, and they do certain things where the police are like, I don't think you can do this. They kind of go, well, arrest us then. I tell you what, why don't you arrest me? I'm a 75-year-old woman. Why don't you take me down to the cells, arrest me, interview me? Any judge is going to let me off. So either do that, which we know you're not going to do, or why don't we just sit down and talk about the case, and you can tell me a few things, and it's lovely, because they can constantly do it, because there's very little consequence to any of their actions, which is lovely.
The book is very kind. It's full of kindness. It's full of,
I hope so.
It's full of goodwill.
Yeah.
Which again seems like but it is something very kind and genteel, and it's full of warmth.
Yes. They do bad stuff, but they come from kindness and warmth always.
Yes, there's a sort of Ealing-like, comedy-like kindness about it. But it's also, there's something very, modern. I mean, I love the real modern world they find themselves in, and you know, them trying to wrestle with iPads and Wi-Fi.
Well, that's what I really wanted to make sure, because it's lovely to write about, you know, that age group, and it's just great fun. I didn't want it to be, oh, look at old people, they don't know anything about this, aren't they? You know, oh look, it's sweet, isn't it? So I throw the real world at them. I absolutely, you know, there's drug dealers, there's big discussions about Tinder. I mean, it all comes up, and it's fun, and political correctness and the way they have to deal with that. And that's fun because, of course, they deal with it in an incredibly intelligent and thoughtful and kind and warm way, because, you know, that's who they are. But no, I wanted to make sure it wasn't kind of, oh, look at these sweet old people, and you know, I thought, no, I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at them, and you know, and see what they can overcome, which they do. And
there's Ibrahim, who's another real favourite of mine. Contemplating it's quite how good a drug dealer he would have been.
Yeah,
you know,
he's saying I would like all the counting and the weighing out. I would like, and he's talking about the machines that count the money and all that. He was said, I think I would have enjoyed that. You know, kind of looking back over what else he might have done with his life if he wasn't a psychiatrist. Exactly.
Were there any characters? Because I mean, even the horrors, and
there's a couple of horrors.
There's a couple of horrors. But even those are affectionate. They're very affectionately observed, at least.
Yeah, they certainly have a There's they have moments of I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I think there's a broadcaster whose voice I hear every time I read Ian Bentham's.
Oh really? What broadcaster is that?
I better not say who.
Oh really?
But I hear
famous broadcaster.
Quite a famous broadcaster. Yeah.
Like newsreader.
No, more sort of entertainment broadcaster whose voice I hear.
He means Noel Edmonds, I think. Do you mean Noel Edmonds? No, that's not. He's a lovely fella. No, I know. Yeah, okay. I hear what you mean.
Funnily enough, when I was speaking to you the other day, just ahead of this, and the character's called Ian Bentham.
Yeah.
And I said Bentham or Bentham, and you said Bentham. And I said, yeah, I say that too. And I suddenly thought, sorry, instead of me saying, oh, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
I'd already taken ownership enough of Ian Bentham. And you realise, as of tomorrow, these characters are no longer yours.
I mean, it's really interesting that, and I hope so. I mean, I love these 4 characters, and there's 2 cops as well, Chris and Donna, who also really kind of become part of the gang. I genuinely love them. I love writing them, and I've just been doing the second one, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But they do take on a life of their own slightly. I found myself saying to a friend the other day, I'm so pleased for these characters that people are going to hear their story.
Yeah,
which is weird because they sort of don't exist, but they kind of do. And I think it's so lovely for Joyce that people are reading this diary she thinks no one's ever going to read.
Yeah,
and they are, and I'm genuinely chuffed for the characters.
Well, authors frequently say that their characters sometimes run away with them and sort of lead them quite often down avenues they perhaps weren't really intending to go down. And they're sort of pulled. I mean, did that happen at all with you?
Yeah, all the time. Because I would, I try and I'm quite, in terms of the way I write, I would try and do 1,000 words a day, and I'd try and make that a scene. That's what I like to do, or a chapter. And so that's how I would do it. And so I'd know roughly where I wanted to go. And every single scene, you have to move stuff along, otherwise you've got to cut it out. But so I would put a couple of the characters, sometimes all 4 of them, in a scene and just go, oh my God, what are they going to do here? Oh, this is going to be chaos. And I would sort of get to a point of a scene, and then one of them would say something that just comes up from the back of the head. And I thought, oh, great. Well, I know where this is going now, because Ibrahim has said this, or Ron has said this, or usually Elizabeth or Joyce have said something. And absolutely, they ran away with it. And, a lot of the times I'm thinking, well, how do I get this next? The nice thing is you sort of hide things within the book and red herrings, and, and the true kind of solution is hidden away. And you're thinking, what scene could I hide that in? And you could put any of those 4 pretty much anywhere, and I know there's a scene in it because of the way they react to the world. And the more often you put them in scenes that they're unfamiliar with, the more of a laugh that it is. So I sort of, every time I started a new chapter, and there's a lot of chapters in the book, I just thought, oh great, where do we go now?
So well, let's start with the characters, because was that where you started from? Did you start from characters, or did you start from
I mean, I had the setting and this idea of a Thursday murder club, and the 4 of them came fully formed immediately, I would say. I sort of knew who they were. And I wanted 2 women and 2 men just because that's fun to write. And I worked out who they were pretty much immediately. I don't know how or why, they just came to me. And then, that lovely thing of them sort of, and Joyce was the one whose head I got into the most because she writes the diary, so she's able to tell you what the world is and all that kind of stuff. But the moment they started interacting with each other was when they really came alive, because then you think, oh, that's who you are, that's interesting. And whoever they were in my head at the beginning was tempered through them meeting other people and seeing how they reacted to things. And right from the start, I knew all four of them had different reactions to things, and they spoke very differently and all that stuff. So
presumably dialogue came very easily, actually.
Oh yeah, because they like, all four of them have got a particular way of speaking. That there's always a fun that, you know, they're always questioning or agreeing, or, you know, there's always they each have an angle they take all the time, which is lovely. Ron always is, you know, suspicious of everybody. Elizabeth always knows the right thing to do. Joyce is always, oh, don't mind me. Oh, I'm just sitting here in the corner, whilst at the same time, you know, she's got everything covered. And Ibrahim is always making his lists and thorough and all that kind of stuff. And there's, you know, there's different sides to them, but that's the four sides of my brain that kind of come together in those four.
Did you ever think about having other first-person narratives? I mean, did you at any stage think, or was it always just going to be
it was always just going to be Joyce in a funny kind of way. And I mean, when I'm writing about so if there's a scene where Ron is at the heart of the action, I see it from his perspective. I try and write it in a different way than I would write a scene if it's Elizabeth. And so in my authorial voice, I'm a little bit more Ron. I'm a little bit more kind of a West Ham fan, you know, who you know, used to hang out with Arthur Scargill. But I love the idea of just Joyce being the quiet sort of, you know, Dr. Watson kind of character at the heart of this. And it's, you know, in fact, she says at one point, it might be in the second book actually, she talks about diaries, and she said, oh, whoever wrote the diary about Holmes and Watson, that's who I'm like.
Yes, that's right. No, that's in this one. Are there any? I mean, were there any characters that you had to put in there you didn't particularly like? You didn't particularly engage with? Or
in the very first draft of it, when I did it completely in secret and just then showed it to a couple of people, and I made it. It was too complicated at first. I had more characters. I had more suspects in the book, and a couple of people said, you know, you could lose that whole character. So there's I won't go into things, but there's two characters who were in the first draft who were not in this draft at all. And as I cut them out, I thought, well, this sort of makes the book much better, which is really, really interesting, until you're just left with, I love every word of this, but I want every word of this book is heading in the direction I want it to be, and we're not going off into a place I don't need us to be. And I love everyone. I love how bad the bad ones are. I love how kind of conflicted the conflicted ones are. I love how kind of, you know, clever the clever ones are. And so it was honed down and honed down and honed down until it feels like a kind of lovely arrow pointing in one direction, but you don't know what direction that is when you're reading it.
There's a lovely, oh God, what's his name? I think it's the guy who wrote the screenplay to Whiskey Galore. I think he's Alexander McKendrick. McKendrick's on writing.
Okay, yeah.
And his essay on that is basically you should always, once you've got your story sorted from the point of view of your protagonist, just switch round and just see the whole story through from each character.
Yeah, which is great, and you know, it's exactly right. And you know, hopefully when you're reading as well, then there's a through line that's kind of simple, but there's enough where you can just, and the lovely thing is just throwing in these little red herrings, just making sure you think, oh, it's him. Oh no, it's her. Oh, but hold on, didn't we say earlier that? And I love all that.
And there are a couple of minutes, and there's some lovely red herrings, and some you desperately don't want to be. You think, no, sure, anyway, maybe, and then.
Well, most people don't seem to have worked it out, which is lovely. Most people are reading it, but I think, I mean, my thing is, you know, you can read these books just to work it out, and I'm hoping that you're kind of, you sort of love the characters enough, and you're enjoying spending time with them, that after a while you sort of forget you're supposed to be working out, and you just think, I wonder what Joyce and Elizabeth are going to get up to when they go to Ashford. You know, or you know, something. There's always kind of something that you think, oh, this is fun.
That's the great skill of that, is you have yours, what looks like quite a neat. I mean, it's a conjurer's trick almost. Out of this neat little box, which is the status quo, you can pull all kinds of.
Well, this is, funnily enough, I think when I've spoken about it before to people, I talk about Pointless and how we host Pointless, because Pointless, again, like a crime novel. Listen, we're heading somewhere. Right, it's going to take 45 minutes, and at the end we're giving away a trophy, right? And we have there's beats we have to hit along the way. We've got to get rid of people and this, that, and the other, and we chat. But the joy of Pointless is the stupidity that we bring to it along the way. You know, the amateurishness and the fact that, you know, people, it's a kind of gang, and that's lovely. And that's how I feel about writing a book as well, which is, listen, you know where we're starting, you know where we're headed, but I just want to entertain you as much as possible on the way. I'm not going to change the rules. There's going to be no unfairness. It's all going to be fair, but I just want you to have a really, really, really good time. And that's what we try and do on Pointless, don't we? We usually fail, but we give it a go.
We have fun.
We have a great laugh.
We have a lovely time,
don't we? Just.
I'm trying to think in popular fiction. I'm trying. Help me here, because I'm not a crime fiction. I love, but I'm nothing like as experienced as you. In the genre.
Yes. Let's do the rest of the interview in French.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. McCall Smith wrote Precious Ramotte Sway.
Yes.
And obviously Christie wrote Poirot. And P.D. James wrote Dalgleish.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, but I can think of, apart from McCall Smith, I'm trying to think of other popular fiction writers who've written brilliantly for female leads.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, it's that's interesting, that, and I never really think about it. I've really, really loved. I mean, I'm chuffed with the reviews all around. I mean, people have been so utterly lovely about this book that I feel. But that's lovely. Lots of people said, "Oh, you can really write for women," and I never really thought it. As I was writing, I never really thought anything other than I'm just writing for Joyce and Elizabeth and Donna, who's the cop. It's absolutely lovely. It's a lovely thing to be told, and certainly I think they are sort of the heroes of the story, really. I mean, they kind of hold the thing together. But my life has been full of strong women holding everything together. My family is strong women. That's kind of what I've grown up with. That to me is the world that I inhabit. So it's really lovely, and it's really, really heartening that so many women read it and just going, "Oh my God, you write great women characters." You think, "Oh, that's nice." I didn't know I was writing great women.
Did you have readers that friends that you could say? Tell me, is this?
No, I didn't let anyone read it. I didn't show it to anybody. I mean, nobody, because I just thought I wanted to do it. Like, no one wants a TV presenter to write a book. Done.
That's a tough one.
Exactly. And so I didn't. I thought, I'm not going to go to a publisher and say, "Oh, yeah, I've got an idea for a novel. I think you're going to like it." I thought, no, write the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then if no one likes it, at least you wrote a novel. Well done. You prove you can do it. Yeah. So I wrote the whole thing, and I showed it to Juliet, my agent, who's absolutely brilliant, and just said, "Look, is this any good?" And she said, "Oh, I promise you it's good." And I was still like, "Yeah, but come on." But then the really lovely thing was in the sales process. We sold it to America, and we sold it to Germany and to France and Italy, and all of them bought it, and they don't know who I am. They don't have a clue who I am. And then we sold the film rights to Spielberg, and he doesn't know who I am. He doesn't watch. I'm afraid to say he doesn't watch Pointless, which is weird.
That's not what he told me.
Yeah. You could be an ET too, right?
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
I'm still waiting.
And so that was lovely to me. The thing I completely wrote in private just to see if I could do it. And when it went out to the world, I just wanted to see evidence that I hadn't been kidding myself, and it was actually okay. And all the kind of foreign sales to me just went, "Oh, okay, that's fine. That's you like the story. It's not like, oh, he's the guy from what's the show? Yeah, we love that show. We love that show, don't we?" They just bought the book, which I mean, there
is a market in that, which would have been a very attractive and easy one probably for you to, I guess, just to, where you sit down in the shed at the end of the garden, you bang out.
Sorry. No, exactly.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And that's not for me. If I do something, I really like to do it properly. If I do telly, you know what? You know how much I love doing Pointless, and you know how much I care about it. And it's the same with this. I want to do this forever. It was such a joy to write. And honestly, people having, even in the last few days, people who are reading it and just getting in touch with me and talking to me, it just it thrills me beyond words that people are reading it, enjoying it, and loving the characters. And that to me is, you think, well, I want to do that again and again. The lovely thing about doing Pointless properly is we get to do it again, and it's so much fun. And then we get to do it again. And there's the same thing with a book. If people like it, if people reading it, enjoying it, I get to write another one, and then I get to write another one, and that's the joy of it for me.
Obviously, on Pointless, we'll tweak the format a little bit every so often to keep it interesting, and
exactly.
we learn along the way that actually
that didn't
work better this way. Yeah. You've just done book 2. I think you're still doing the second draft.
Yes, I'm in the middle of doing all that.
What did you change about your approach for book 2?
Well, I'm doing it quicker. because firstly I have to do it quicker because I want it to be out next year, so you can all read book 2 next year. I think you can even pre-order it. Obviously, I know you got the first one, but so obviously I want to do it next year. The really interesting thing was the rewriting process is brilliant in books, and if you've got a great editor, Katie at Viking, who's brilliant, and Pamela in the US, who's brilliant, and they're just so forensic and great. But now I know what they're going to tell me to take out because they told me already, and I'm quite a quick learner. So I remember for the first one, they said, "Oh no, but think about this scene. If you took it out, what changes?" And I go, "Nothing, but it's a good scene." They go, "Yeah, but what changes?" I go, "Oh yeah, nothing." And so I know all of that now. So if there's a scene where I'm thinking, "No, this is just you having a laugh," you're just really liking this scene. There's a lovely scene at the end of the Waterstones book, which hopefully everyone's been sent in the next couple of days. They said, "Could you do some bonus material?" And there was a scene I had in the book where, for a number of reasons, the Thursday Murder Club are talking to a hit woman because they're looking at the economics of how one would kill someone for various reasons. It's a scene I really loved, and there's lines in it that I absolutely love. But actually, it didn't add anything to the story. It was like window dressing. It was lovely window dressing. It was window dressing. And when Waterstone said, "Look, it'd be lovely to have a bonus thing," I said, "Well, look, I've got this chapter that I absolutely love. I love the writing. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so in the Waterstones thing, you'll see it is at the end. You get this whole bonus chapter, which I.
Ibrahim, I imagine would take the lead on this. He'd love that.
He chats. I mean, it's on it. So that was so nice because I didn't have to waste that even. But I was always sitting in my kind of bin, and I was thinking, "Oh, that's a nice scene. I wonder if I put that in the next book somehow. Is there some way they can do that?" But now it's lovely because it's everyone can have a read of it. But after they finish the book, which is great, so they'll already know the characters and they'll sort of see the point of it.
I think it's why comedy is, I think, the best training for pretty much everything. But comedy for
brain surgery.
I'll think about that one, but probably that too.
Okay.
But certainly for, everything artistically, I think comedy, the measure of comedy, knowing how to get just the acme delivery, the absolute.
And the key thing in this was as well, as I'm well aware, there's some brilliant comic writers writing, Klein Carl-Hiaasen and people like that in the States. But it's not set out to be a funny book. It's not a comedy book. It's a book that's very real.
It's very engaging, very funny.
But that's the thing, is as I was writing it, the characters are just sort of making me laugh all the time. But there's no jokes, there's no kind of one-liners, but there's a lot of humor from character. And I read it back, obviously you read it when you're rewriting, and I'm sitting there really laughing. I think this is terrible, you mustn't laugh. But but hopefully it doesn't take you out of the story, because it does all come from character. Is the
good
key.
Comedy writing, you improve a good sketch by taking out even your favorite bits. You just tweak here
just to make it more and more real.
I have to say though, reading this book, I reckon I laughed. I properly laughed out loud more than 50 times.
Wow,
that's more than 50 times. Good. It's got it. You say it hasn't got one-liners in, but it's got some absolute killer gags in there. But also just beautiful. A good character writing just makes you laugh because it's just sweet.
I hope that's the thing, is you're laughing at the characters and how they're reacting to situations rather than someone's thought of a one-liner. It's it's like I love the fact that people are saying, look, it's really, really funny, but they're still moved and they're still crying and they still want to know who did it. So that means, okay, that's good. That's what I was going for.
It's a comedy gig between two covers. As well as being so many other things as well. Film deal, Spielberg. What?
I know.
How did that happen?
That's infuriating for you, isn't it?
Oh God, it's annoying. Oh. Anyway,
I thought the only reason I signed it, I thought Zarda's going to go crazy.
Nuts.
No, you know what? It was obviously you can buy the setting. It's very TV friendly, and everyone who reads it, the first thing they do, they're casting it in their head, and they're saying, "Oh, that's Judi Dench, and that's Penelope Wilton, and that's Art Malik." And so we went to see lots of TV companies and films, and Spielberg's company came in for it, and were really, really, really excited about it. And again, lots of the TV things, I could kind of see why you might get the guy from Pointless to do a Sunday night drama. And I thought, but I'd rather someone who's never heard of me in this company who, they don't muck about. And they, 1917, they just made, was just on air. And I thought, they're not mucking about. I just thought, no, that's, I'll do that. I'll go with Steven Spielberg because he knows how to make films, I think.
Yeah. Have you?
That's my understanding. Do you know what? For various reasons, I have not been to America in the last 6 months. and he's not come over here.
Do you know
it's
what?
so weird.
Yeah, isn't that funny? But you haven't had a Zoom meetup or anything.
He said he would, and yet is he on the plane?
So he said to me about ET2. Yeah, honestly,
ET2 is a great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
So no, that's lovely, and it's been sort of written at the moment. And yeah, we shall see what happens. But I'm not getting involved because I figure he knows how to make films better than I know how to make films.
Yeah, And
that's
will you be involved in the scripting then?
No, I don't think so. The lovely Ol Parker, who I think you know as well, who did
and there are two Ols.
Best Exotic Marigold Hotel and all of that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, I said it like if you'd said the other Ola, they've gone, oh, not him. I love them both.
Do you know two Ol Parkers?
There are two Ol Parkers, both working in film.
Really? Ol Parker and Young Parker, you should call him. He's doing it, and he's so brilliant. I'll leave him to it while I get on with the second one.
Yeah, and then obviously book 2, you roll your sleeves up and get in there because they killed book 1. Honestly.
Oh my God, it was all I couldn't believe it.
It's going to be amazing. Now, a lot of people who've bought. I think you had a choice of 2 tickets for this.
Yes.
One of the tickets was just to bring you here. Hi, lovely to have you here. The other one entitles you to a book, and I know Waterstones are sending those out as we speak. They might take up, I'm told to say, to allow up to a week for them to arrive.
But they'll turn up tomorrow,
probably. They will be. There is a second book. What's it called? Do we know?
Yes, it's called The Thursday Murder Club 2. No, it is what it is called that at the moment.
Friday
because, well, do you know what? The interesting thing is, the Thursday Murder Club, the second one starts literally the day after the first one ends, right? So its working title was The Following Thursday, which I loved as a title, but it's I think we might
seriously, Dude, Where's My Car?
That's the follow-up to Dude, Where's My Car? So it was originally called that. I don't know what it's going to be called, is the truth. We're sort of going through trying to work out what suits it best. So at the moment it's called Thursday Murder Club 2, and I think you can pre-order if you want to pre-order.
You can pre-order it
now.
First one. Right, read the first one.
Yes.
I mean,
if you don't like the first one, don't pre-order the second one.
I'm going to pre-order the following Thursday, whatever it's called, The Nameless.
It's a good title though, The Following Thursday, isn't it?
I think it's lovely.
Yeah,
it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Will books 3 and 4?
I think that I imagine that news is embargoed.
Okay.
I don't say what news.
Who knows? What news?
But if there were news,
will you stick with this?
Oh my goodness!
This scenario?
Now, everyone who survives the first book is back for the second one. Everyone who survives, everyone who remains at liberty is back for the second one. And I would like to bring them back every year for as long as I possibly can. I just adore being with them. You know, they're fun, right?
I can see. Not until I have a full shelf, like the Patrick O'Briens.
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Full shelf.
The Thursday Murder Club mysteries.
That'd be great. Well, listen, we've got lots of questions that have come in.
I was wondering what you'd done. I thought maybe you were just watching.
No, I was a bit bored.
Succession on your iPad. Have you seen it? It's terrific.
No, I'm just still playing 2048. It's ridiculous.
That's what you have on your podium, isn't it? On Pointless. It's just like.
Favorite Fulham player of all time?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Hashtag Come On Your Whites.
Listen, I'm absolutely Come On Your Whites. Listen, as it's a Fulham fan, I'll go obscure. I'll say John Pansel is my favourite Fulham player of all time. You like
on Pointless? I had no idea what he said. John something.
My favourite thing is Pansel. My favourite thing is when you have to pronounce, like someone says a tennis player's name, and you literally repeat back to them what you think they've just said.
So you're saying
Yevgeny Kafelnikov. And occasionally go, Yevgeny Kafelnikov.
Okay. Did the book have any different titles before you settled on the Thursday?
Oh, it didn't. That's a really good question. Literally, again, like the characters, that I had the title immediately, and I love the title. I thought, that kind of tells you what it is. It tells you there's murder. It tells you there's going to be a bit quirky, but it's really kind of. So no, that was always going to be the title.
Oh, Patrick, I like this. Did you plan for the release of the book to be on a Thursday?
Oh, well, now that's a very good question, but also almost all book releases are on Thursday. I didn't know that at the time. And so it's been really serendipitous, it's absolutely lovely. I suspect if I'd called it the Tuesday Murder Club, surely they would have released it on a Tuesday, wouldn't they? I mean, they haven't lost their minds, the world of publishing. But yeah, so all books really are released on Thursdays. And that was very handy.
Oh, here's a lovely one. What's the favorite book you have read, or the book that inspired you the most?
Oh, that's such a good question, isn't it? You have to go back to Agatha Christie and just the way that she writes a mystery, and the way that she sort of everything seems so gentle, and you kind of look at it, you think, whoa, there's some stuff going on there, and just the way that she very, very carefully, these plots that are like a kind of watch, but you don't notice it's being put together. So Agatha Christie. Although when I was writing the book, I was listening to all the Patricia Highsmith Ripley novels, which I adore as well. So that was I think maybe.
So you allowed yourself to listen while you were writing.
I tried not to read any contemporary crime stuff, because either it's really good and you're like, oh God, I'm never going to write like Ian Rankin, what's that point? Or it's sort of bad and you think, oh, and then it kind of, so I read her because, you know, she's not going to be releasing a book on the same day as me. And I already know she's brilliant.
There we are. Jill wants to know who's your favorite writer. If you had to,
of someone now, I would say Kate Atkinson. I think is an absolute genius, because she writes detective stories as well, but writes other Life After Life, which is one of hers. If you've not read it, that's extraordinary. But
how many character names generally do you consider before settling on one? That's a great one.
Yeah, really good. And here's the interesting thing, which I didn't know. So Ron in the story is called Ron Ritchie, but he was originally called Ron Rankin, right? Yeah. And then someone said, "Oh, I think that's a bit too on the nose to call him Ron Rankin." I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, like Ian Rankin." I thought, no, it hadn't occurred to me that it was Ian Rankin's, but I changed it. They said, look, you got to. Yeah. But Ron's son, who in the book is Jason, was originally Ronnie, right? Because, you know, Ron and Ronnie.
It very often happens.
Yeah. And just which is such a good note from any editor. They just go, don't have characters whose first names begin with the same letter, or who sound too much like each other, or rhyme or anything like that. Just make sure everyone's name is distinct, because there's enough people for people to be remembering without going, hold on, is this Ron or Ronnie? Which one is it?
True.
And so in my head, I know who they are, but isn't that a great
It would have
note?
been nicely observed, though. I mean,
if there's Ron and Ronnie. Yeah.
I think Michael Parkinson's son is Mike.
Yes, exactly. You know, it happens a lot, right?
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for somebody who doesn't normally read crime books? I do. Read this.
Yeah, I would definitely read this. I think this is terrific. Yeah. It's a good question. If you like something a bit darker, all of Mark Billingham's Tom Thorne novels, I think are absolutely terrific. You know, I go with that. And Val McDermott also does the very dark ones.
We're very lucky. We've had Mark and Val on Pointless.
Yes, times. We have lots of crime writers, don't we? We had Jeff Deaver on from the States and all that. It's lovely. They love coming on. Crime writers. There's something about crime and quiz that's because it's a mystery, right?
Crime, quiz, comedy as well.
Crime, quiz, comedy.
Crime, quiz, comedy.
Crime, quiz, comedy.
The immortal triangle.
The immortal triangle.
It's all about as having a cuppa seems to be a particularly British pastime. If the Thursday Murder Club was a flavour of tea, what flavour would it be?
Oh, that's is that a good question? I think that it would be just a builder's tea. Really, I mean, the one character we haven't talked about is Bogdan, who's the builder throughout this thing, and is very, very kind of he's sort of the most solid man there's ever been. And you know, I think at one point Elizabeth says to him, "Do you want a cup of tea?" He goes, "Yes." "Do you want sugar?" "Yes, 12." And it's like, you know, he's like absolutely without completely stone faced at all time, but a character who I absolutely adore.
Yeah. Really love Bogdan. Will any future books be first-person narrative from each of the main characters? Or is it always going to be Joyce? Some of these people I think have maybe.
I think some people have read it, because people I think could have bought it today. I know it's supposed to be out tomorrow, but you see it's in various shops. That's a really good question. I kind of like the way it is now, because I like Joyce. There's something nice about Joyce, who's the most unassuming of the characters, kind of leading us through things, and the other three a bit more kind of mercurial and maverick. So I think it would always be from Joyce, but you know, unless if she returns for the next book. So yeah, I don't. It's a tricky one, but I think that let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
I mean, there is something. The inner narrative is just so winning.
Yeah.
And actually does open up so much great comedy. I mean, there are just lovely little asides from Joyce. And some really touching, you know, she's sort of leveling with the reader, you know, I'll get better at this. I'm not. She says at the beginning, I'm not very reliant. I often get these things wrong. I know I'll get this wrong.
Yeah, I'll get this mixed up.
Yeah.
She rarely gets things mixed up, though. God bless her. Yeah, she does. She's nobody's fool, Joyce.
She's nobody's fool.
She really isn't.
Yeah, we love Joyce. Who's your favourite literary detective?
Oh, that's a really good question, isn't it? I mean, maybe someone like Morse, because you know, there's the trope of kind of literary detectives who kind of have issues and problems, and he sort of does. But you know, his main thing, he's just like super. I just love the way his brain works. And Colin Dexter, who writes him, is a huge crossword enthusiast, and that's so you can sort of tell he's so kind of learned and literate, but kind of finds himself in this sort of awful places all the time, that you know he tries to sort of solve all of mankind, really. He tries to solve all of mankind's ills.
Crime quiz comedy.
Crime quiz comedy. I mean, maybe less of a comedy with
no, but comedy is not all comedy is funny.
Well,
it's
I mean, listen, I've seen your show.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is good. I haven't been able to take the mick out of you for such a long time. We're back doing Pointless in a couple of months, and I'm looking forward to taking.
And actually, but your detective here, actually, I mean, apart from Donna, who's ace, they are. It's a Hydra-headed detective. I mean, Elizabeth obviously does quite a lot of this, but you know, it all.
Yeah, they all come at it. They all have different things to bring, and they all, which is the lovely thing, they all work different things out at different times, and can inform what the other people are doing. So that's great. And you've got the four main people and the two cops, and all of them. No one's an idiot in that.
And all the functions of the community get. You know, there's the guy Elledge who goes out just because he goes for a walk every morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah, and just walks down to the bottom of the drive. Yeah,
go and do some work with you there. Just keep an eye on what's going on.
The whole community is full of characters who just come in every now and again, and you get a little something from them, and you sort of you peek behind the curtains of the village while the big story is going on, which is lovely.
It's just there's something just so satisfying about it. Yes, exactly. It's like this whole community sort of comes up and becomes an entity in itself.
Yeah, I hope so. That's how I felt when I went to that place. I felt this place is really like any organization. This place has really got a culture of its own, and I think it does in the book.
It's like that WeBuyAnyCar.com advert where the car transforms into a dancing robot.
Oh, like Transformers.
Cooper's Chase.
Like Transformers.
Or obviously Transformers, yes, there's that as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, talk amongst yourself. Where do you get the time to do it all, Neil wants to know.
That's a good question, Neil.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, when we're working, when we're filming, we have zero time, right? But when we're not filming, you know, we do, like you do your Classic FM breakfast show every morning, which is terrific, by the way, if you've not listened to it. So, you know, you just sometimes do have, you know, in between filming commitments, you do sometimes have time on your hands.
Well, actually, I mean, you get, apart from anything else, you probably get about an hour and 20 minutes in a car, I should think.
Every day going up to Elstree.
Do a little bit of typing in.
Oh, I could never do that. I can't. I have to be literally focused in front of a screen with nothing else going on. That's the only way I can write. I can't even think about it otherwise.
Between you and me.
You're a multitasker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Best biscuits for munching while writing?
That's a really good question. You know, you've got to be very careful with munching biscuits while writing. I mean, I would say Jaffa Cakes, but then we'll get a Twitter storm of Jaffa Cakes on biscuits. But of course they are, as we well know. So I'm going to say Jaffa Cakes just to upset people who say they're
demographic. Yeah. Who's the book dedicated to and why?
It's dedicated to my mum. Because I love her very much. She brought me up, and she brought me up beautifully and brilliantly. It's the dedication. You'll see it says to my mum with love, the last surviving Brenda. This is because she said, this is awful, really. She said, you know, I had a friendship group. There used to be 5 Brendas in my friendship group, and my son, we were having dinner with her. He said, how many of the Brendas are left? And she said, I'm the last surviving Brenda. I was like, okay.
Oh, it's like Jersey Boys.
I have to say, she said it with a bit of pride in her voice.
No.
So that's to the last surviving Brenda, but it's to her. And you know, the whole book is that spirit of, you know, my mum is in her 70s, but you wouldn't know from her brain, if you know what I mean, because it's as sharp as it ever was, and as kind as it ever was, and as warm as it ever was. And you know, when I think about all my family and my grandparents as well, I think about their kindness and warmth and strength, and the way they sort of are very mischievous and don't do what they're told. It's sort of that spirit, I think, goes throughout the book.
Yeah, it does. It shines through. Any motivational advice on writing 1,000 words a day? That's an anonymous.
Well, I would say, I mean, don't worry about 1,000 words a day. I would say write what you can write. If it's 100 words, 300 words, 500 words, you know, the key thing is just to write. That's the only rule I would say of writing a novel. That's certainly the thing that I learned. There's a lovely book called Bird by Bird, which is really worth reading. And the author says, I had to learn kind of 1,000 birds of the United States for a homework, and I just didn't have time. And I said to my dad, how am I going to learn them? And he said, bird by bird. And that's the only thing with writing is, you know, if it's 100 words a day, just make sure you sit down, make sure you find a place to write. And I know it can be hard if you've got young kids or the job is long or anything like that. But if you can just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And some people write more than 1,000 words. That's just where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're doing 100 words a day, you'd be surprised. But you know, you get to 5,000 words soon enough, and then you're like, oh, maybe I'll do 200 words a day. And but just write and stop listening to the voice in the head that tells you to stop, because it will do throughout. It'll say what you're writing is terrible. What you're writing is not as good as anyone else's stuff.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think you are anyway? Who do you think you are to describe the color of the sky? You have to just ignore that for just a couple of months and give yourself a shot.
How do you fight the voice that says, "Oh, I better just read through what I wrote yesterday"? Oh, that's not good.
Just people have said to me, and this is another good advice. They said, "Look, get it done, then get it good." Right. So get it done, because so many times, you know, I've started things before, and you just leave a chapter in a drawer because you keep going back and go, and you know, it's finish it. Just finish the whole thing, and when it's done, you'll think, oh, it's done, and then you go back and then you change it, and then you kind of. But the thing is, no point changing the first chapter if you don't know what's happening in the last chapter. The beauty of writing the whole thing is you go back to the first chapter and think, oh, it'd be great what if I mentioned this here? You know, you go to chapter 17 and go, oh, what if I mentioned this here that pays off in
dusting of
exactly. So you can sort of go backwards.
That makes perfect sense. Has lockdown helped or hindered your creative process?
Well, listen, I don't like to say that lockdown has helped anything. So it's been a hugely difficult time for everyone. I understand that. But in terms of the writing, it was very helpful to me, because I had the discipline of writing for a couple of hours a day, and the routine of writing. I think routine's been incredibly important to all of us. So for me, my mental health is incredibly useful. But actually for the book, it was useful. I think when I handed it in on deadline, my editor was like, what? On deadline? And I think that's happened quite a lot this year with authors.
Terrible.
Yeah, but every editor and publisher in Britain is just kind of going, what do you mean you've given it in? I'm off for 3 weeks in Barbados. I'm not gonna read this because, so it got in on deadline. I think that's taken some publishers by surprise. But it was the discipline of it, I think, really helped me and helps the book as well.
And in terms of mental equilibrium, did you manage to keep yourself on an even keel?
Yeah, I did really. I mean, I'm a real introvert, as you know, so not going out that much was fine by me. The people I love were safe, so that's good. I had work to do. I had that sort of momentum, so that was good. So yeah, I think I got away with it as easily as you could do, I suspect.
And you were kind of hanging out with such lovely people as well. You know, with these fabulous characters.
I know, and I was also thinking, you know, I know that what's happening here will come to an end, and I know this is the sort of book that people will love because there's escapism in it. It feels real. It's real characters, but you do kind of think, this is a world that I would like to live in. I want to get back to this world and you know, and how things were, which we will do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I was so pleased to read it again was I just really missed them. I missed them. I had all these friends. They were just lovely. They were just such lovely company to be in.
Yeah, because the only person who's read the second book, but two people are my editor and my agent, and both of them are just like, oh my God, it's so lovely to be back in their company. Yeah, we're so happy to sort of hang out with them again, and I've been delighted to hang out with them again.
Has anyone you know thought that one of the characters was based on them? Claire says, I write too, and my sister's always convinced that she thinks in every book.
There's always a sister, isn't there, who thinks, oh, that's me. Oh, I think that's me.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, the really good-looking one who fights crime. Yeah, that's me. It's interesting because, I mean, none of them are really, but I mean, there's always bits of people that you know in all of these, but you know, not enough. But no, I don't think so, because I don't think any of them are really based on anybody. They're all based on bits of my own head, and they're based on my upbringing, and they're based on people I've come across. But there's not, oh my God, I've got to turn that person into a character.
But it's very weird. It's like, I don't know if I've mentioned the links that I think comedy, for example, and crime and
the eternal triangle.
The eternal triangle. Writing comedy characters, for example, people voices that suddenly come out. You know, suddenly a character, and it's not based on anyone at all.
Do the airman.
It's just exactly that one. But you know, they sort of emerge, and they're not anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
But
sort of weird, we meet so many people over the years, and without noticing, we take so much stuff. So every time you write someone, you think, so it's all come from somewhere. It's all come from someone I've met at some point, or a little something. But none of them are kind of, I met that guy and I'm going to base it on him. Yeah. But they've all
a tincture of something in it.
Exactly. And lots of little references where you think, oh, that's from my life. That's from my life. But it's, you know, you mix them in a very different way.
Evelyn wants to know, will Spielberg appear on Pointless? We should make that. Can't we make that a condition?
I could do, probably.
Can't you make that a condition?
Yeah, maybe I'll ask.
Get him to see if he can bring some others over.
Yeah, just like the whole cast. Yeah. I mean, you would think that Spielberg, what else has he got to do? Nothing else. That would be a bit. I wonder who his partner would be. Chico?
Again?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Having listen, I'll try and get like an amazing cast for the film, and part of the thing that they sign up to is they have to come along. So we'll have like Julie Walters and Dame Maggie Smith will come and be on podium one.
I mean, you're spoiled for choice for amazing actors, aren't you? Actually?
I know, exactly. And you could age up, right?
Yeah,
I could age up. Yeah, you could be Ron.
Of course I could. If you were to write a different genre of book, what would that be?
Oh, I don't think I would write a different genre of book particularly, because it's I'm comfortable writing the thing that I read. I could certainly do something that felt just a very basic contemporary novel with a good plot. I think there would always be an element of something was up. Some wrong had been committed that needed to be fixed. Yeah. So I could imagine that, but I want to get a whole number of these out of the way before I even think about that. Is the truth. There's plenty more for everyone who survives the first book to do in the future, I think.
There's a really lovely question. Has this experience made you excited about reaching your 70s?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Listen, what it's made me excited about is moving to a place like this. That I've been to, because it's I've looked up, you've got to be 65 to live there, but oh my god, we'll have such a laugh when we get to that age, and just everyone living in the same
middle-aged one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. Yeah, exactly. Just leave the kids at home. I would absolutely love to live in that sort of community. It's such a laugh.
Oh, here we go. Beth says, did you get to choose who read the audiobook? I've pre-ordered, and I think Leslie Manville's a great choice.
Oh, I mean, so do I. We were thinking about people for the audiobook, and someone said, oh, have you thought about Leslie Manville? I thought, oh my God, of course Leslie Manville. She's literally perfect, and everyone loves Mum, and she's so brilliant. And so we asked her, and her agent said, oh, she's not doing anything like this at the moment. I'm like,
to read it.
And then literally the next day, the agent came back and said, oh, she read the copy you sent, loves it. She would love to do it. And you think, and she is so brilliant. So you've got an absolute treat in store with Leslie Manville reading it. She could not be more. I mean, she is like amazing. I'm
really sorry to say we've come to the end of our hour.
Oh no.
I mean, it just remains for me to say, will you still answer my calls when you're you and Spielberg on your boat?
Oh, I tell you,
Pointless.
I tell you, he'd be good in it. Ben Miller. Oh, can you imagine him as the cop? Oh, he'd be good. Oh, he'd be terrific, wouldn't he? Really I will forever return your calls, as you well know.
I hope you do. But good luck with it.
Thank you so much.
But actually, it's lovely for me because I can just watch. I can just watch and enjoy the whole thing.
Thank you.
Just great. It's very exciting.
I'm very chuffed that you like it. And your son is reading. Your wife has read it. Now your son's reading it.
Yeah,
it's amazing that teenagers, loads of teens and upwards are reading the book and loving it. And
but it's so accessible. That's why.
I think it's
funny, and they're hooked from about fifth line down.
Even though it's about people in their 70s, that's the joy of it, right? That's the joy of it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're going to read it anyway. But read it, love it, tell your friends, and thank you so much. Thank you, Waterstones. Thank you, Penguin, for joining us this evening.
And thank you very much, Sandra, as well, for being the consummate host you always are.
Oh, a great pleasure. Richard.
Yeah. Now, let's go and get hammered.
Oh God, what do you mean get hammered? What do you think that's water?